I joined my father's firm, which is Mullah and Mullah, at that time quite prominent. But who was in his chamber? Nani Palkhiwala, Fali Nariman, and Soli Sarabji, his three juniors, who became
Giants.
It was doing well, and I used to interact with Dr. Baba quite a lot in those days because he was at the Tata Theatre was going on at that time, and he used to ask me who shall I do, who shall I call, etc. So eventually we became quite close. Although he was my mother's friend, but he was staying, or he was working 2 floors up.
Okay.
And so, come up. And then we'd have to go up and he'd chat about this, that, and the other. Eventually, when I was about to retire, he phones me and he said, you have to join the NCPA. One thing I must tell you, let me advise you. I said, my God, on the first day I'm getting advice. Never start late. To always be on time. Absurd advice, I said, thank you. And then, of course, we were struggling because there was no real structure. So I applied a little bit of my knowledge of management and started doing a few things. The money was very little also. Then I got IMG to do a study.
Okay.
And Dr. Baba paid the bill himself. And
Wow.
so these three great guys from IMG came. And the study is still relevant. We divided the different genres into theatre, Western music, dance, and Indian music. They were made. Then we made over the years. We made them heads. Then we discovered that we needed to increase our repertoire much more.
Yes.
So we started collecting funds, and gradually we had these people giving 5 lakhs and 10 lakhs and 20 lakhs. The whole list is there below. And started, and there, one fine day, we were walking in London, and we saw an advertisement of a violinist called Marat Bisengelev, who was giving a concert. We went in. It was sensational. I mean, he had these wonderful ladies, and he is, of course, a world-class violinist. And they played so well that we went backstage and said, would you like to come to India? So he said, what's in India? I said, music, we can have you come. He said, well, let me think about it, etc. I told Dr. Baba. He got excited and said, call them. So we had these very, very pretty ladies from Kazakhstan and Marat conducting them, first concert. And Dr. Baba was charmed. And he said, call them back again, call them back. They came 3-4 times. Then one day, sitting in London, talking to Marat, he said, Marat, what about making a symphony orchestra? He said, are you crazy? I said, no, why don't we try? So then I went back to Dr. Baba and said, yes, it's a good idea, let's try. And so he said, but I have one remit, and that is you have to have Indians. And over the years, you got to induct more and more Indians into the orchestra. He said, but only if they come up to standard. I said, fair enough. So we started first with about 20 Kazakhs, and then he had auditions with so-called Indian artists who came. And out of something like 180, he chose 2.
Oh.
Yeah. So they came in, and then they complained after a week that they're working too hard. We can't work this hard. The Russian ethic is 8 hours of practice.
Yes, the Russians like to have it easy. Yes.
8 hours of practice. Anyway, so it gradually evolved until now. I think we are quite well established. The orchestra is doing very well, and I'm very proud of them. And so then, of course, we went we've had 2 tours of England, then we've been to the Middle East, we've been to Singapore, we've been to several places.
Just one question. When did the NCPA stint begin? Which year? NCPA? When did you join NCPA? Which year?
I joined them in 2000.
2000, okay. That's it, becomes 25 years.
Just when he phoned me, I was in Mahabaleshwar 1 year before, that my opera house is burnt down. You know, we had a huge fire here. I was in Mahabaleshwar. I said, I'm coming back, Dr. Baba. He said, no, don't come back. I don't like to interfere with anybody's vacation. I said, please, but don't come back. He was like that. Next day, he convened a meeting while the fires were still
the embers were still burning. Yes.
He says, no recrimination, no blaming, nothing. We start reconstruction tomorrow. We'll talk about the rest afterwards. That was the spirit of the man. He was supported by JRD, of course. That was another great thing. I have a letter from JRD to Jamshed saying, you are my closest and truest friend. And you are the only one who tells me the truth about everything. Yeah. So he was a remarkable, blunt, lovable man.
Yes.
You know, and he built the Tata Theatre, the best possible architects in the world and the best acoustician. And Ravi Shankar, after a few years, had come to see. And so we had Yehudi Menuhin. If you see our first board, it's like the who's who of music. Zubin Mehta, Yehudi Menuhin, Carl Böhm.
Wow.
Oh. And he wanted to make this into a great center. And he didn't have enough support to meaning people who knew about music, etc.
Okay.
So we gradually introduced lots of fine musicians.
Just one question. You also had a similar movement in Bombay called the Bombay Philharmonic Society. Was that part of yours? No, that's separate.
No, that was different.
Okay.
There were 2 or 3 orchestras there. There was the Melli Mehta's Bombay Symphony, which was, they were mostly half a dozen lawyers and doctors and all amateurs playing. In fact, there's a famous story of a solicitor called Keki Mehta, was a great, you know, and his partner was playing also, and Menuhin was the soloist, and Melli Mehta was conducting. In the middle of the beginning of the Brahms Symphony, he takes his violin and puts it on his lap. What are you doing, Menuhin? He said, thank you, I have finished. He didn't want to play anymore because he couldn't do it. So that was a kind of amateur orchestra it was, yeah. And but they were lovely people, very fond of music. There was a gramophone society where everybody went and heard the records with the Chaviwala gramophone, etc. So that's how it evolved. Then we created connections with institutions and etc. Now we're tied up with a lot of important institutions.
So now there's no short, there's no difficulty in getting the best talent to your NCPA.
Yeah, well, I think if you come to our concerts, in August, it's a month and a half, top people. And we appointed Martin Brevins, who was the chief of the English National Opera, as our chief conductor. Yeah.
Yes.
So they're all coming.
Good job.
It's becoming good.
Now you developed this place for theatre, for music, both Indian as well as as well as Western. You've done all this. Now you've developed NCPA into a vibrant, throbbingly vibrant organization.
We hope.
What is your plan now? What kind of a legacy do you want to leave behind?
The legacy I want to leave behind is to keep the best possible people as heads of the various departments.
Okay.
You know, we have excellent head of Indian music, Mrs. Rao. There is a superb head of dance called Swapno Dasgupta. And the 2 people supporting her in that is Aditi Mangaldas and Sarukai, 2 of the finest Indian dancers. Okay. So we've got a very strong committee. And now the Tatas have come in the trusts are helping us.
Very good.
Yes.
One little question here. Usually, artists come also with big egos. Generally, managing them without letting the ego interfere with the work is not an easy job. Point one. When you've got many artists with very department, the job becomes a little more complicated. How do you manage that?
It's one of those things, There is a little give and take with them because they're sensitive, the musicians, artists particularly. You have to respect what they have achieved in their lives, especially the great ones.
Of course.
And if you respect that and say that, look, as far as we are concerned, this is something we should do for the institution, they have never created trouble.
Lovely.
I worked with my dear friend Zakir Hussain. Not only did he agree to compose a tabla concerto, then 3 years ago we went to England with a tabla, flute and basudi concerto with the orchestra. 11 concerts.
Wow.
London, Manchester, everywhere. And so that was quite a thing. It's there on recording. I'll give it to you.
Lovely.
And now we've got 4 world-class conductors coming in August. Big programs, but very big. And last year Zubin gave 6 concerts for us. He's also
he's also a legend. Yes.
Somebody from the press asked us during an interview, how long have you known each other? I said 85 years. He said, what? Yes. We knew each other from the age of 2 or 3. Parents were friends. Then he was in Campion School with me, St. Mary's, and then Xavier's, and then his mother wanted him to be a doctor. So he just ran away to Vienna with his father's blessings and then did extremely well.
Okay. Yeah. Now that you've created this, how do you create fresh talent in a society that is drifting away from the core classical ideas?
It's not really so. If you give them quality music,
okay.
We understand that these chaps who charge 20 crores and 5 crores, I don't know, all these pop singers who give a concert in D.V. Patel Stadium and all. Well, good luck to them. But it is not our remit, although we succumb to the popular demand.
Yes.
And we must have them. I'm not saying no. But the original thought, and if you read the vision statement of JRD and Jamshed, it is to create an institution which gives the highest form of music and related arts to the city of Mumbai. That's the vision statement.
That's a vision.
And of course, we are trying to do that. That doesn't mean we have very good jazz, which is also a great art form. We have very good popular sort of artists also who come. And we have a huge amount of Indian music, which is mainly classical because Mrs. Rao is a purist. And she has a wonderful committee. We had Panditji Arvind Parekh. He was 98. Last week he retired. But he's as clear as a bell.
Wow.
Yeah. But these were there. They were friends of all the great people. And so then record collecting is my main hobby. And met a lot of people in England who were record collectors. And finally, there were a couple called Vivian Liff and George Stewart who had this huge collection together with the Earl of Harwood, who was, of course, the Queen's brother-in-law. And they left the whole collection to me, which is, I said, where am I going to put it? I need another house.
Keeping the records is difficult.
So we gave it to the NCPA. And now it is a fantastic thing you should see. When Placido Domingo came here doing the opera alia, he spent more time in the library than rehearsing because
Looking at
he
us.
had records which he never seen.
And these are the old vinyl.
Vinyl, of course, they were collectors of 78s.
Ah,
Yeah, but that's an esoteric hobby. But there's everything there, everything you could want. And so when we take people there, somebody says, I want a fellow who's left me a lot of great records. It's a big collection. Will you take it? I said, I don't know how big. He said, no, we'll bring it to the NCPA. So he came in a little box like this. I took him to our library. He says, I think we can accommodate your box. Yeah.
Okay. So today, you think you have enough of talent and enough of managerial ability to create a new generation of artists year after year after year?
Yes, in Western music, yes, definitely.
Okay.
In Indian music also, Mrs. Rao is very, very good, but she has not started a school yet.
Oh.
I'm trying to say that we should have a kind of a
School of Indian classical music.
school, whatever you want to call it, guru, shishya.
Yes.
That's the thing. And in dance, Swapno is teaching children, handicapped children.
Okay.
Teaching, yeah, she's quite wonderful. And she's a very talented lady and full of go. We need younger people who can carry this forward and who imbibe the very objects of this institution.
Yeah, you need both skill, knowledge on one side, and enthusiasm. Lots of enthusiasm.
And modern thinking.
And modern thinking.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not very easy, but I think that we are not doing too badly.
No, that's not really true, because what you're doing is amazing.
Yeah. So we have a lot of support from the diplomatic community. They all love to come to all the concerts, etc., etc. But I've never understood why countries like the great classic countries like Italy, Germany, Spain, are not involved more with. They give you the visas, they send artists, now the Danish people have sent these 20 musicians
Okay.
from the Danish school. They're all good. But there should be a bigger involvement. I've been always trying to
As
see
an
what we can
ongoing
do.
arrangement rather than going piecemeal here and there.
Yeah. And now, of course, time has come for us to look at our theatres, because don't forget the Tata Theatre is more than 1982, so it's about 45 years old. So it's looking to an absolutely fresh look at all the new technology that can be incorporated, sound, but not to interfere with the acoustics, which were very good. But the new look, the new equipment, adding more lavatories. I don't know why. People nowadays seem to go more than they did in the olden days. What it's for, but they need more facilities. The restaurant has been redone just now.
Oh,
And
I love your chutney sandwiches. They're just unbelievable.
No, that's our own. This new one has been done by Rahul Akerkar with Birlas. This is the first Tata Birla relations.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is stories like these that actually inspire the next generation of what is possible.
But this has always been a very odd genre, musical, cultural heritage. There are invariably people all over Europe where this group doesn't talk to this group, and that group is jealous of this group.
Yes.
It's in the character of the people. And they will not help each other also. So we go our own way.
No, but that is where you need a person who's a marriage maker who can create ways in smoothing out the ruffles,
Of course, you
which is
know,
what you're doing, really.
they're trying, but very often people have their own sort of proprietary look at their organization, which they've created. And this is true all over the world, not only here.
Very true.
You know, there was Saul Hurok, the great entrepreneur in New York, who was the agent for Rubinstein and Horowitz and everybody who was anything. As soon as somebody else tried to come into that group, however good he was, he would say no.
Sad.
You don't understand.
But thank you, Mr. Suntook, for giving
No.
us such a lovely insight into what you've done
No, try.
and what you hope to see happening in the field of culture and art.
Yes, we're trying to put NCPA on the map, cultural map. And we are already somewhat there, but not sufficient. It's excellent that the more the people give money for arts and things, the better the quality of the citizenry will be. Because they need that to soothe their savage breast.
Thank you very much.
Great pleasure.
This
Thank
was
you. Thank you.
pleasure, but more important, it was enlightening for me.
No.
I'm sure it will be enlightening for the audience too.
No, not at all. It's just what we want to do. And we hope to accomplish. Let's see. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for sparing the time and talking to me.
No, great pleasure.